All right, you're going to upload a more complete version of what we're about to do here. What you're going to do is essentially outline your summary paper or a possible summary paper. You don't have to stick with this. We haven't read all the essays yet. Generally speaking, you want to pick one you kind of like or kind of dislike. It'll help you react to it a little bit. All right, what we need to do, we're not going to go over just yet all that business in the summary essay, the sheet that I gave you all yesterday, because even that it seems to, I don't know, overwhelm some people or something like that, because it's a whole page filled with words, right? You're not quite sure about all that stuff yet. So remember, one of the themes of this class is we want to take it step by step, keep everything on the train tracks, right? I wanted all you all to post by 2 o'clock. It didn't look like a whole lot of people were before, so I may just wait until tomorrow morning to make this available. But you always start with a thesis statement. You don't start with the intro. You start with a thesis statement. And you could have a slightly different thesis statement for this. It's not necessarily one right answer. It's really, remember, it's what you can support. But the process is this. Thesis statement is always in 2 parts. All your topic ideas, 2 parts. All right, if you've worked in the past, you say, well, wait a minute, I had 3 things in my thesis. Actually, you didn't. You had 2 parts. You had a subject and an idea, and your idea was broken into 3 sections. It's a standard 5-paragraph essay. So, just to emphasize that, your subject is always, I hear grammatically it's the author, but it's the same idea. Your subject wants to be, or always will be, your essay for a summary essay. So I'm gonna put that in green. Whoop, that's too difficult to read. So let's try blue. All right, that's easier. Dalai Lama ski trip. What I learned in the slush with this holiness. So now blue is going to be the subject. Argues not that happiness is the meaning of life, but we can probably support something like this. Just because, well, I know you can because students have done this in the past, right? Happiness is living in the moment. So for the idea, orange, that offsets blue, I think, a little bit. Is that too difficult? That's not too difficult to read. Happiness is living in the moment, all right? So blue subject, orange idea. The real gist, right, of all this is to keep on the train tracks, you keep the colors lined up, all right? To keep the colors lined up, you have to know for your summary essay, you have to have an idea. Here, I'm living in the moment. We've worked on a few different ideas. I don't know necessarily what all of you are going to upload. I saw somebody uploaded a really good one that we hadn't done before that may be worth doing. But I know this works, so we'll just go with this. Happiness is living in the moment. So the next thing is, if you just think through the essay, I didn't just haphazardly come across the thesis. I'm thinking, if we read between the lines, I remember times when, if I want to sort of pretend that it's an argument, well, I remember times when the Dalai Lama, he sort of seemed awestruck with wonder. Maybe that's a thesis statement, right? Living a life full of awe, living a life full of childlike curiosity would probably work, right? But what I'm thinking of is when he just noticed the beauty in the mountains, when he seems fascinated by people, concerned with one person. I might have said true happiness is empathy for people, but then I wouldn't be, if I said that, then you can just think off the top of your head, there are a lot of instances in the text where the Dalai Lama is not really interacting with people necessarily. He's not really concerned with people per se when he's just concerned about the beauty of the mountains. So that evidence wouldn't fit, right, so much. All right, so everything's got to fit. So it's not like that's a bad idea. It's just, I don't know, we'd have to really work a lot harder, I think, to support that. So we're just going to try this. But what I want you to do, and you don't have to do it for this essay, you can do it for any essay so far. So the first 3 big ones after the big happiness ones, that one's a little tough to do. Now we need to come up with a topic idea. So again, what we are not concerned with, don't worry about the intro right now. We haven't written the intro. We've just written the thesis. We're going to talk about how to lead into the thesis later. And, well, I need to turn off the orange, I guess, here. And what we need to do is say, okay, well, now topic 1. Okay, how do we tie it? How do we tie this into the title, right? How would we come up with something in blue? So you got to name the paragraphs. And one of the reasons I wanted to pick this one is because A, seems more accessible to most students at this stage. This is actually not the easiest one to do. The one right before this is probably easier once you think about it in terms of what he's doing. And the previous one is he's probably not arguing something so much as, I don't know, surveying or something like that. But I want to pretend that he's arguing something in this essay, in the Dalai Lama ski trip. So I'm going to say, let's just don't overthink this. And if you look, it's on page 535 in the book, through paragraph 10, there are 3 dots after paragraph 10. And I told you before, you see it on the sheet. We are covering a lot of paragraphs. We don't need to make too fine a distinction. There are 50 paragraphs in this one. So what we need to do is make large paragraph distinctions. And it seems as if the author himself conceives of the first 10 paragraphs functioning as a unit. So now I'm going to say graphs 1 through 10. And it's okay if you just put the numbers in there for this. And now I'm going to do what will really keep you on the train tracks. A lot of you don't like to do this, but if you do this, you can just write this in, or at least be strict about doing it mentally, and this will really help you out in terms of not veering from your thesis statement. So the first way, and then just restate the idea part, right? Preston goes about arguing that true happiness is living a moment is that he blank, right? And so we should know at this point that we think, well, wait a minute, I got to code the blue up, right? And I got to code the orange up. But I'm trying to think, we haven't gotten to the orange yet, but the blue is easy here. And in fact, it's so easy, a lot of you all will screw this up, right? So what we want to do is we just want to stick with the paragraph, just name the paragraphs, right? That's all we need to do. There are other ways of going about doing this, but this is tested. This works. All right, paragraphs 1 through 10, by definition, since you're naming part of the essay, then that'll work, right? Paragraphs 1 through 10 are part of the Dalai Lama ski trip and so on, and you're progressing, right, from the beginning apparently to the end, right? The first way he goes about, and then I just inserted the idea again, happiness is living in the moment, is that he, and then I say, well, wait a minute, what on earth is going on with 1 through 10? It doesn't seem, the Dalai Lama's not really doing a whole lot. He's there a little bit. You hear some stuff about him, but not really doing it. It's really about the narrator, the person Preston has speaking in the story, telling the story, is that he presents something about living in the moment with the narrator. And I'd give other class a good 10 minutes to think about this. A lot of people still would have difficulty with it. So, but don't overthink it again, right? Presents a narrator who is not living in the moment. Remember how the guy's stuck with, worried about his cash, other things, he's not generally happy. He wants to know, he doesn't seem to be a pleasant person in a couple specific instances, all this would become the evidence. What's going to be the small 1, 2, and 3 down here. So I'm going to say we can at least work with this. Presents a narrator who is not living in the moment, orange. So the first way, so by way of contrast, right? All right, for later on. And to completely fill this out, then what you would do is come up with at least 3 pieces of exact quotes. right? 3 quotes. And I'm just throwing 3 out there for purposes of the outline, right? Really, it may be more or less, but this is how you would keep it on the train tracks. Well, can you come up with 3 quotes that you can eventually discuss and talk about or discuss how it supports advancing the topic idea, the evidence does, right? And so by saying 1 through 10, by definition, we are not talking about anywhere else in the text, okay? So now we got to go to the next topic sentence, just in terms of an outline, penciling it in, right? So if we stopped at 10, got to start at 11. 11 through 30, and this is a distinction that'll work. 11 through 30. Oh, we're going to go back to blue. So essay lines up. The second way, right? The second way Preston goes about arguing that true happiness is living in the moment is that he, and now what does he do exactly, right? So we're making this to where we're breaking off, or other classes anyway have broken off the distinction. Let's say around 30, before he gets run over, he and his entourage get run over by the teenage girls. They say, well, something about he notices things, right? And we kept going through words and so on until we said, you know what, he's really doing what? He is, and I'm not going to fill in everything here, but part of the idea is he's giving examples. So the word example would be a good one to come up, right? Of living in the moment, right? So I'm going to give you the major idea here. You can fill in the rest of it, right? So as we go, same thing. Now, do you have discrete, exact quotes here? Now, and remember, we talked about paraphrasing and so forth before. We don't really want that for this type of essay right now at our stage, right? At our level. We want the exact quote that you believe you could support as an example, right? And so then we go on from paragraphs 31, or if you make a slightly different distinction, whatever number that is, 32, 28, from paragraphs 32, and you pick another textual distinction. One day you have to come up with a different word. In this section, I'll just tell you, this is where the girls run him over, right? What is that word going to be? The third way Preston goes about arguing that happiness is living in the moment is that he blank. What is that? So in academic language, how does that episode advance an idea? If before I was going to say, well, when he notices the mountains and talks about the children skiing and all that, I could say, well, those are examples of him living in the moment. Well, maybe if I said childlike wonder up here, I'd say that's an example of him living with childlike wonder. That's an example of him, whatever it is that you claim here. But now this is a little bit different, right? Now there are people involved, and something, I don't know, something potentially, nasty could happen in this situation. So how is this different than an example? Right? Is it, an extended example or illustration, or is it something else? Come up with the word, right? So this coming up with the words and then the corresponding evidence, this thinking through, probably even for this at the topic ideas and resulting evidence, it's easy to hear me go, listen to me and go through it, but it's hard to come up with it on your own, right? But if you do that now at this stage, it will really help you get off on the right foot. So this, in short, this is the assignment, right? All you're going to do is finish this essay if you want to, but any of the essays so far that we've already read or that we will read next time. Next time we're going to do the next 3 essays. See if you can come up with your thesis statement and then just outline the whole essay. Probably not more than 4 topic ideas, right? If you do, maybe it's 5. Probably don't even need 6 in most of these, but maybe you run into 6. All right. name your subjects, right? Name the paragraphs, and then now come up with the examples and just see if you can type in the exact direct quotes, and that is your upload. So it's the word count is, I mean, there's no definite word count, and it's not large and all that, but the thinking through, right? You're analyzing in a basic sense by breaking the paragraphs apart. You have to think about how you want to break the paragraphs up, and then you have to think about on the topic level what's going on. So you definitely have to have at least a working idea for the thesis statement that it'll tie into. All right, and this is, so pick one essay, make sure you know it, read it well. You can do this one, but if you don't like this one, I'm telling you, a lot of people are probably going to write on this one. It becomes kind of boring for some of you. The other ones are actually a little bit easier to do if you just think about them a little bit more. And this is what you're going to have to upload for. I've changed it to Monday night because I forgot about Labor Day weekend. Fill it out, probably through D, with 3 pieces of evidence for each one. Quoted exact evidence. All right, message me if you have any questions about this.